Hi there, my friends. This is Miss M back with another helpful hint, we'll call this one, for you. Okay, if you haven't figured out by now, you know I love using books in speech therapy. I think books are a great way to enhance speech and language development from, infants to beyond, all the ages. I mean, I love to read now. I like talking about them. I like what they do for communication and just building a familiar context. But I've talked a lot about the why, but I haven't really given you anything tangible on how to include books when working with speech skills, language skills. If you're a mom or dad and you're at home with your little ones and you're like, yeah, we read at night, but we just read the book and then go to bed, and I haven't been given maybe any input on how I can do some little tips and little tricks and things to, promote receptive skills, social skills, language skills. So we're going to talk about that. Again, I recommend doing this when it's enjoyable, right? So we want to remember those key things. Follow your child's lead, be face to face, be animated, excited, and make it a fun time for them. So pick a time to read. Now, if I'm thinking about how I structure a 20-minute speech session around using a book, I might pick a time where we're either winding down or where the book is setting up the rest of the activity. It just kind of depends. And, if I have a child who really likes doing book activities, I'm going to start with that because that's going to set our session up for success. If I have a child who likes to just sit and it's like a calming time for them, then I might just wait until the end when we can maybe use a little bit lower energy and just kind of relax after working hard in a speech session. I'm going to talk about ways too, maybe you have little ones that push a book away every time you open it. So we want to teach the skills first that go with a book. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, because we want to, we're thinking about pre-literacy. One of the things on my checklist that I have, my informal checklist, is, when a child looks at a book, do they open the front cover? Do they know to open it? Do they turn the pages in the correct way? things like that. Or are they kind of just, is this a block? What is it? So we're going to talk about that too. I got my notes right here for you. So pick a time of day when you're gonna experience, I just hit myself with the book, when you're gonna experience the book, right? We'll say experience because, again, it might be that learning what a book is. It might be reading it. It might be a lot of things. So if you think, okay, what's the best time of day? When's the most engagement maybe with this book gonna probably happen for my child? Am I gonna try and do it during a meal time? No, they're probably going to be focused on meals. Now, it might be a time to pull out a social story about mealtime because they really enjoy the meal and they really like attending to that. I don't know. But you know your child best, and trust your instincts with this. And remember, sometimes things are trial and error based. I relearn that all the time in my speech sessions. Sometimes things work one day, they don't work the next. I have to kind of wax and wane and figure out what's going to work best long term. So you just kind of have to play around with it, be a little experimental, to find out what they like. Think about your spot, your reading spot. So maybe it's a beanbag chair, maybe it's a swivel chair. Sometimes little ones that need more sensory input in order to attend. Maybe that's something that might be fun to do while reading a book. Maybe you're setting up an environment where they can take frequent breaks from the book activity and get up and walk around, right? So just keep those things in mind. Make the environment successful. Maybe it's you build a fort. Ooh, that was my favorite when I was little, building a fort and getting to read my books in my fort. So make it a special reading thing. Make it a part of a routine that a child can anticipate. So you have your reading spot, you built your little fort that you always read together in. You do it every night, or you do it every morning, or before lunch, or after snack, or before nap time, right? And it starts to build into the routine. And that's part of what I say, it's a little bit of a learning experience. You might have to play around with it to find what's going to work best for your child and to find when, they're most engaged, they're most excited about it. I always just want to double check that I'm recording. Okay. Also keep in mind when you're using books, it's okay to use the same book more than once. Repetition, repetition, repetition is something I always say, and I will not stop saying it because I like to be repetitive. But repetition is great. It helps us, you know, really learn those skills and set good foundations. And you know, when we're thinking about receptive language, or thinking about identifying or object function or things like that, using the same book over and over just kind of helps it seep in a little bit more and more each time you read it. So using the same book is great. If you feel like you're running out of material, recycle, go through your books again. If you are like, no, I really am running out of material, great. I have videos with other book ideas for you, and I am constantly finding more books that I'm sharing. So keep tabs on these videos. So let's talk about, now we're going to break things down a little bit more. So you might have your little one and you're like, well, you know, we're working on social skills, we're working on receptive language, and we're working on expressive language. What do I do with a book? Like where should I start with a book? Well, if we want to focus on social skills, what's one of the main things we want to make sure a child has for that interaction? Joint attention. Books are great for joint attention. If you've seen me talk a little bit about my Noisy Baby Animals book, or any of these books that are interactive, that make sounds and have textures and really nice pictures, those are great. I also, you know, I've talked a little bit, I think, before, and I have some of my videos, they're called Noisy Stories. Those are high contrast books, so just black and white pictures to limit sometimes all this visual stimulation might be overwhelming. So you might want to start out with a book. There's also these really cool books. One is called, I think it's called Hello Baby Animals. I'll have to find it and link it here. But it's a really great book. It's a blackboard book with white images. It's really for some of our little ones that have maybe are visually impaired, or just, again, get overwhelmed by all these colors. Those are great ones to start with because they're a little bit more engaging or enticing. They're not, you know, it's not like, oh, there's so much to look at there. So keep those kinds of things in mind too when you're setting up that environment and looking for those books. But, you know, building joint attention, whether or not you have an interactive book or not, you know, it doesn't matter. This is just an idea. So if you have these are great. A little bit just gives you a little bit more to work with. But even if you don't, you know, look, doing that, you know, kind of getting that, look at the cow. Cow says moo. And that might be it. Just getting that triangle. And if you've seen my joint attention talks on here, that triangle of interaction between the book, the child, and you. I have written so many goals on joint attention while reading books because they're engaging. There's so much to work with. You know, you have one page with one set of pictures, and then you turn the page and things change. And you know, you don't have to be reading verbatim. It's just a change. So you go, oh wait, that's not cow. Look, that's pig, you know, and you can have different reactions with that. So those are really great ways to encourage that shared attention because you can get focused on the book and on you. And you're both focused on the same object. And it's, again, that beautiful context where it's right here in front of you. Books are great too because you can take them. So if you're going on a long car ride or, you know, a trip or to the grocery store, you can take them and throw them in your car. Maybe have a little book bag for moms and dads, book bag in your car. I have books with me for everything. Like if I go do an evaluation in a child's home or family's home, if I'm just going to a classroom to collaborate and I'm pushing in, I always bring a book in case I need to pull that out. Another thing with social skills, pointing. Pointing is such a crucial skill. Think about making a choice. You know, some of my little ones that I work with, they might not yet have words. And so pointing is something I want to teach them to help them make choices. So pointing to the pictures is a great skill to learn. And it's just working on that social engagement. You know, I could say, oh, let's point to mouse or touch mouse, right? And it also, you can start, remember if you watched my questions video, you can play the question game, play the choice game. So which book do we want to read about? Baby animals or birthday? And they can do that pointing, and that's a great start because that gives them the control. And you know, it's encouraging because it gives them a reason to communicate, holding out for that point and then looking through the book. If, you know, if they're reaching for a specific book, make sure you model that point. Work on that point because, again, it's very helpful when making choices and when expressing your wants and needs to be able to point to something. So those are a couple ideas for just beginning social skills. Now, I talked a little bit too about you can start any age. You can start, okay, we're gonna open, this is the front cover, we have to see what's inside, you know, and teaching front, back, you know, open, and then again, thinking about, you know, that proper use of books, book handling, you know, first page, turn the page, you know, and that's where you can start building in some turn taking. I like to, with my students, give them a visual that says turn page, and then they get to pass it, so it'll be another group member's turn to tell me to turn the page when it's time to turn the page. And it just helps with that, you know, okay, turn page, you know, and it's such a fun thing for them to say, or they get to do it if it's a board book or a book that I don't mind getting torn. But they'll get to turn the page, which is super fun for them, and it's engaging. Okay, I feel like I'm talking really quietly, so I'm going to talk a little bit louder. Ideas for receptive language. So receptive language with books I find to be very fun, but I always try to be careful that I'm not overloading my students with, you know, show me this, now show me this, now show me this. I don't like it to become like a test, right? Point to the cow, point to the pig, correct. I like it to be interactive regardless of if I'm targeting receptive language, expressive language, or interaction, social skills. So I might, you know, say, oh, I see the cow, you show me the cow, and kind of thing, and make it very fun. And, you know, again, you could get that point. That's why we built that point in, right? Oh, I see the talking duck. Where's the duck? You know, I see green balloon and things like that, kind of like a little I Spy game, but very fun, very interactive. Or you might model. You might say, I see cow, show me cow, you know, and or keep your finger on it. So that way you're engaging with that book, you're building that identification in there, and you can also, you know, you can work on object functions. So let's find a page that's a little bit more appropriate for that. Makes it a little bit easier. Here we go. So this page, it has the pig holding a whisk, which I might call a whisk, but you would say, like, show me what you stir with. Or you might do yes, no questions. Do you stir with a hat? No, you know, do you stir? So you'll take the book, you'll talk about what's happening, and then you'll start, whoop, I keep hitting myself with this book. You'll start working on that object function and identifying by object function, that receptive skill of knowing what something does and being able to show it. Or vice versa, right? What does a whisk do? But that's a little bit more expressive. Anyways, so, or just being able to identify by their attributes, right? What's on cow's head, or show me what's on cow's head, right? You could, you know, talk about what the animals do. Show me who moos, show me who quacks, and all those fun things. So those are some ideas for receptive language. Again, you don't want to make it like a test. You want to make it interactive. You know, you might do the animal sounds first and then show me who mooed, who did that, who quacked. Okay, let's talk a little bit about expressive language with books. There's lots you can do with this. So when, you know, we talked a little bit about taking turns and doing turn page, have the child request again to turn the page. Thank you notification. If you know, if your child is working on signs or gestures, maybe doing more, so that way you'll turn the page, right? Okay, I'm ready for more. I get that a lot with the Brown Bear book. They're like over the purple cat and want to get to the white dog before I can even prompt them to say more. But it's really, it's a really good skill to have, to interact, to turn take, to tell me what they want. If the child is beginning to use words, you can prompt to say more. You can prompt to say page, turn, book, I do, you do, you know, things like that. 2 to 3 words, I do, you do, my turn, turn page, more please, or not more please, more page, things like that. You can work on vocabulary. So we did a little bit of identifying. So who's that? Whose birthday is it? You know, it's cow, it's duck. Again, you don't want to make it like a test situation, but you want to make it fun, and you can work on those things with the book. And I always say, like, as a speech pathologist, books are magic, because if I am like, I don't know what to do right now, I'm gonna pull out a book. I'm gonna pull it out because I guarantee you I could target a goal. So sometimes it's really nice. I have my little stack of like go-to books. Actually, they're all right here right now because I'm working from home. So, yeah, I have my go-to books and I can pull them out and try to target goals. Like I said, object function, identifying, labeling, WH questions. We did yes, no questions a little bit ago, but WH questions, you know, who's wearing the hat? Whose birthday is it? What does duck say? What do they eat? In this book, they eat a turnip. Fun new word. You know, if you're working on expanding their utterances, or that more like, relating a story to your own life. Do you have a birthday? You know, what do you do on your birthday? What do you like to do on your birthday? You can prompt with using positional words. So prepositions. I have got a really great book actually with sitting on a couch. But you can even do something like this. So again, where do you wear your hat? On your head. You know, tell me more. Where else can you put a hat? Oh, in the closet, and things like that. Practice making sentences to describe the pictures. So one thing I'll do, so if my child's a non-reader, that's okay. You know, that this isn't gonna matter. I'm not gonna worry about the words, but I might make an expressive language activity out of, what do you think they're doing? What are they doing? You know, they're baking, or they're cooking. They're making a cake. I mean, think about all the morphemes or the words in that. Now, if your child is a reader, but you want to kind of target that ability to make sentences using the pictures and tell their own story, just cover up the words. Speech pathologist, a great tip. If you haven't heard of this already, I learned this from a very knowledgeable speech language pathologist that I worked with during my clinical fellowship. But she taught me how to, she basically showed me to get a language sample. Really easy thing to do, especially with the elementary school age or middle school kiddos, is to take a book, read it to them, or tell the story to them, so showing them all the pictures, right? And then get a story retell. But you want to make sure that you put Post-it notes over all the words. So I might just cover up the words with some construction paper, maybe some paper that matches the color of the page, if you can. Sometimes books have that like writing within all the pictures, which really drives me crazy. So find a book, obviously, like the Rainbow Fish is a really good one. These books are really good ones, and books that really tell a good sequence. First this, then this, then this. Because then you can get organizational language out of there. And when you're just working in therapy, even if you're not doing an assessment, books are great for that. First this, then this, then this. That sequencing is so important, because it's so important on how we learn to organize it language when we're telling our own stories, you know. And if you think about it on a very functional level, if something happens, let's say, you know, the child fell or another child pushed him or her at school, and that's something that the child wants to be able to say, needs to be able to say and tell, you know, if there's a situation that they need to be able to communicate. So teaching that organization, well, first I was running and then I fell, or, you know, because then you know, okay, like you were running, but, you know, maybe first, you know, I took their toy and then this, or first they took my toy and I got mad, and, you know, so things like that. So it's really important to have that narrative skill. And so using books to build that, to really work on that organization, that sequencing, is really helpful. It makes it really meaningful and functional later on with that more spontaneous language to be able to tell a story. And I mean, if you think about it, we are storytellers. That's what we do as human beings. And so being able to learn that skill and share it through books is really beautiful. It's really awesome. All right, friends, so those are my little tips on how to use books for speech and language development. Obviously, there are many more resources. There are many more ways you can use books. I just wanted to give you kind of an overview so you feel like you could set up a situation with your little one or in your speech room or your classroom and build in those skills when you're reading with your little ones. Remember to always take your time to, say less and stress sometimes. Sometimes not reading the words verbatim is helpful, just focusing on those functional things, taking time for them to imitate. If you're reading a book like this one, so if you're going ruff, ruff, after the dog does it, you want to give your child a chance to imitate that, that sound. All right? Okay. I think I've got it all in there. And if I don't, you can find more information anywhere on my YouTube channel.